All right, then. It's showtime. Hello, everyone. Like always, here I am, Lord of Shadows, and welcome to another live review, so to speak. And this time, we're gonna talk about a movie that basically we have all been waiting for darn 36 years, if I have to say it that way. Yeah, 36 years in the making, but finally here it is, and I'm here finally to review it in front of all of you. And of course, without any further ado, I'm talking about, of course, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Or as Beetlejuice would say it once, say it twice, third time's the charm. Who knows if the third time's the charm actually will come. But overall, here we are, Beetlejuice, the sequel, as I've repeated, was like in 36 years in the making. And finally, Tim Burton finally, delivered. And of course, like with old, like some of the old cast returning, and of course, some of the new cast joining this amazing, like Beetlejuice ride. I just put it that way. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the overall story itself, which is one thing I have a lot to talk about, but to kind of put the story short, this movie involves old flame returning, family matters, some twisted marriages, and of course, our ghost with the most returning to hunt down Lydia Dietz, as of course, he tried to do in the first one. Yeah, but of course, to cut the story short, now of course, which a lot of things, which is the one question that almost everyone is basically asking. How was your favorite ghost with the most? How was his performance? As it was like almost like similar like he was in 36 years ago. Well, let's just get rid of the elephant in the room, shall we? Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, which of course is the very first thing I just wanted to talk about ever since I've seen the movie in the theater and one more time on digital. Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, I mean, returning after 36 years again for the third time. Hey, third time's a charm. Go figure. Anyway, Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. I mean, this guy, like, after 36 years, he still had that energy, that passion, that wackiness that represented Beetlejuice in the first one, and he nailed it out of the park on this one. Like, from his behavior, the voice, the jokes, the misdemeanor. Oh my God, everything that made this character iconic. I mean, Michael Keaton fucking nailed it again after 36 years. I mean, seriously, he nailed it as Batman in The Flash, and he also delivered as Beetlejuice. I mean, like every scene he was in it, he was just simply mesmerizingly magnificent. And I even have to add as well, because like everyone knows that in the first original Beetlejuice, like Beetlejuice was present, like I think around 15 to 17 minutes. In this one, it feels like he was present more. Which I know it's kind of a controversial for a lot of people saying like, maybe they kind of like overused and maybe they didn't, overall. For me personally, hey, more Beetlejuice the merrier. Overall, like I freaking loved every single scene he was in it, and again, like, Michael Keaton, again, for the third time, he fucking delivered, amazing as ever, and after what I've seen from him in the Beetlejuice movie, I really hope that perhaps we could actually eventually get a Beetlejuice. Who knows? But overall, Michael Keaton didn't miss a beat. But of course, Beetlejuice, of course, Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, he's not the only one who returned in this movie. Of course, we have to talk about Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, they also returned, after 36 years in this movie. And even they, just like Michael Keaton, they didn't miss a freaking beat. Oh my God. Like, after 36 years, Tim Burton basically, in the production of this movie, just simply those two actresses, they just simply went back into good old-fashioned characters as they were 36 years ago. I mean, without like in a millisecond, like I just love that, like they didn't miss a beat, and of course, with them, we also have like, introduced, to some brand new characters as well. Of course, we have, Jenna Ortega, who plays Lydia Dietz's daughter. After the enormous success of Wednesday, another Tim Burton project, by the way, she also took like a big step on the big screen as well, and I really, really love Jenna Ortega in this one as Lydia Dietz's daughter. We have, Rory, I would say, the actor plays Rory. I would say he's kind of like a replacement for Otto. Even though I really wish that Otto was here, but unfortunately, the actor who played him in Beetlejuice, he passed away many years ago, which is really really sad. But I would say, even he fit the movie as well, like Otto was for Dahlia, for Catherine O'Hara's character. Rory was the same thing with Lydia Dietz, and it really, really worked, Although, without, usually without those types of characters, usually we kind of wait for a very specific moment to kind of figure out, that this guy was basically an asshole. But no, for this particular character, he was an asshole through the entire movie. So there was no problem at all. Now, with them, we also had two actors, which I will say this, I was really surprised to see them in this movie, or should I say in this particular type of movie. We had Monica Bellucci as Dolores, one of the main villains of the movie. And of course, we had freaking Willem Dafoe in this one as playing this, deceased B-rated action actor who also plays kind of like a ghoul police commissioner, detective or something, And I will say this, all these characters, especially like Willem Dafoe and Dolores, I honestly welcome them. When I watched this movie, I welcome them with open arms, in this world of Beetlejuice, their role basically at first, kind of some people might think, they're like, they maybe they're like too much characters in this movie. But overall, I will say even both of them, they somehow, find their place, in this movie overall, I mean, of course, not to mention, the little, another extra character we had here, which was Bob, or like the second in command of Beetlejuice, which surprisingly in this movie, he became the new head of the, let's just say, undead department or something, and you have like this and basically he has Bob and the rest of this shrunken heads crew, basically working for him and everything. Although I always wonder, because I never explained this, how the hell did Beetlejuice became, head of this department, basically, replacing Juno from the first movie. That's the one thing I'm kind of curious. But overall, I definitely think every single character in here really find their places in this movie. For example, Beetlejuice being the bringer of being basically this flame carrier throughout the entire movie. But I really liked also the idea of Lydia Dietz playing this kind of medium, kind of having her this kind of ghost show, kind of journey herself, through these supernatural elements, also kind of seeing ghosts everywhere. I really like that idea because it really, really fits her character, and of course, Catherine O'Hara being this crazy artist as she always was, like I said, the actress didn't miss a beat. But the one thing I will say I love is, like I said, like I mentioned a few seconds ago, Jenna Ortega's addition to this movie, because she kind of balances out this weirdness / craziness, which are the Dietz family and everything. Now, there's one question that a lot of people have been wondering, which of course is no big surprise, but there are a few people in this movie missing. Which, of course, first one is, of course, the grandfather of Jenna Ortega's character, the father of Lydia. And I will have to say, even though no surprises why he is not in this movie or in any movie whatsoever, but I will say this, I really love the idea how they used his presence without using the character, also kind of explain, how he died, what happened, and, kind of making him present in this movie the whole time, but not using the actor himself. I would say Tim Burton and the crew, they really did this in a very creative way. Also, speaking of the way how they described his death, the Lydia Dietz's father, Jenna Ortega's grandfather, and of course Catherine O'Hara's husband, the way how they describe his death, the plane accident, being eaten by a shark or bitten off by a shark, basically, with that stop motion, scene and everything. I have to say, that was very creative, but also in the same time so Tim Burton. I mean, literally, Tim Burton in this movie. This was literally Tim Burton unleashed, and I would even say this movie. I would even add it's also a little bit Tim Burton 2.0, because he added a lot of material in this that I would say in '88 maybe he wouldn't be able to do it, especially some scenes, not going into deeper details, with someone named as Baby Beetlejuice. I just leave it that way. But anyway, like every single one of them, had their place. And again, speaking like of the new characters, like every single one of them from Jenna to Rory, like Willem Dafoe's character, I just have to say, out of the new ones, I would say Willem Dafoe is definitely my favorite. I really liked his moments in this movie. Kind of like I said, this like deceased B action actor who basically blew himself up with a live grenade because he, just like fucking Tom Cruise, he wanted to do his own stunts, and as you can see from his face, he basically blew a part of his face, and of course, ended up dead. I really liked him in this movie. He was a really nice addition. Dolores, Monica Bellucci, like, I haven't seen her in movies in a long time, but but also like, I really like the development of her character. Also, there's one thing I also want to go back to Beetlejuice, like, just for a brief moment. Like, one of the things I love about Beetlejuice in this movie is that they finally explained how he died. If you remember, like from his speech when he was like, I graduated from Harvard Business School. I traveled quite extensively. I lived for the Black Plague, and I had a pretty good time during that. Like, he literally like lived during the Black Plague, and I really liked, how they connected that, to what he said from the first movie. Like that was actually really, really good. Really nice touch and everything. But I love the overall flashback how he died. He also, kind of like how he met Dolores. Also, kind of explained the missing finger. At the ending of the first Beetlejuice, when he was like, "I'm telling you, honey, she meant nothing to me, nothing at all." Like, that kind of also gives an explanation to that. Although strangely, Dolores actually did have her own finger. But I also, a really nice touch. Overall. So I really enjoyed the idea of kind of explaining how Beetlejuice basically became who he is, today and everything. And I also like the idea that he was a fucking grave robber when he was alive and everything. Oh my god, so brilliant, And also, oh my god, so many amazing jokes, definitely one of my most favorite moments of Beetlejuice when it comes to Beetlejuice himself, it will definitely be that scene when he stamped the passport of that boy called Jeremy, and he was like, "Later, fucker," and he just simply pulled the lever and he threw him to hell, basically. Oh my god, that was so fucking funny. Oh my god, again, he had so many great scenes, but that one was like my really, really favorite one. Very close one when it comes to Beetlejuice himself. Comes to like I would say between all of them, I would say at the very end, like the overall wedding scene, I would say that's close second when it comes to like my favorite Beetlejuice moments. But every single one of them, like every single one of them, the characters had really great moments, like from Catherine O'Hara, like from her dramatic like moments, from the screaming and try to envision her art, and everything, and also kind of like going off the top of the characters, but like, oh my god, like the tomb of Leodita's father, basically being of a shark. that was also pretty hilarious and everything. Oh my god, yeah. But overall, yeah, and I really love, which kind of brings me to the second point, because one of the main things that I've said before, one of the main elements of Beetlejuice is, of course, family, and I really love, like, not just simply the overall interaction between the three of them, like, Catherine O'Hara, Jenna Ortega, and Ryder, but like, but also like, between Lydia Deetz and her daughter, like especially those two, because like I said, Jenna Ortega's character is basically the opposite of Wednesday. Let's just put it that way. Like she doesn't believe in ghosts, she doesn't believe in medium, she doesn't believe any of the supernatural, like, because she thinks like, this kind of things, is for suckers, like she, because she in a way, like Frank Grimes did with The Simpsons, like Jenna Ortega basically in this movie, she presented kind of like the overall, realistic part of the world. Let's just put it that way. And again, love the relationship, between like mother and daughter. Kind of like, also struggling like with her husband, passed away, or should I say more like eaten by piranhas. It's themselves, but like overall, like the family element in this movie, I really, really enjoyed it. Like, it gave us so much character development. Between all three of them. Even like I enjoyed the Rory's relationship with all the three members, Even though throughout the entire movie, as I said, he was nothing more than an asshole. So I was really thankful at the end with Beetlejuice and the Truth Serum, what he did. Because he was the only character in this movie I really, really couldn't stand. But overall, I loved it. One of the other things that did Tim Burton in this movie, he really didn't disappoint, is number one, the overall underworld. The way how he depicted the underworld itself, like in the first one, in this one, he basically expanded on it, and I love it. I love the way how he depicts, the underworld, and also it's like seeing like so many new, dead characters, the way how they died, from like the burning Santa Claus to the to the guy who drowned himself in a little box, from like the mummy, also like of course the Jenna Ortega's characters, like Dead Father and everything, like every single dead character, it was so unique, and one of the things I really liked about the underworld is like as Beetlejuice explained, is of course the soul train which goes to the great beyond. I love that, and the overall theme of kind of 80s 70s music, to kind of where basically every single dead kind of goes on board and everything. I just love like Tim Burton's depiction of like how basically every single soul goes to the great beyond, basically when once we're dead and everything. Very creative, very at the same time funny, hilarious, but also at the same time very, very smart and creative. I mean, Tim Burton, when it comes to him doing like original stuff, he never disappoints, and he definitely did not disappoint with Beetlejuice. I really loved every single second of it. Oh my god. Yeah. Now, of course, I mean, I can talk about like many positive things about the Beetlejuice, but if I have to, which of course, a lot of you are waiting for, is, what are my negatives about it? Well, I'll go to that point, but just in a brief moment. There's one more thing I want to mention, which I really, really loved in this one, because one of the things I love about this movie as well, and I'll get to the details later, but I loved like the idea what Tim Burton did with Lydia and Beetlejuice in this one. Kind of like it really brought me back to the good old days when I was watching Beetlejuice the animated series. Because in that particular TV show, which of course Tim Burton was the producer, you see like Beetlejuice and Lydia being friends, and they have made these like crazy adventures in the underworld, together, trying to save the day or try to like fix Beetlejuice's mistakes, which is most of the time. But overall, what we had in that animated series, we also had just for a brief moment, we had it in here. And I really, really love Tim Burton kind of like, commemorating, the Beetlejuice the animated series, with like, having Lydia and Beetlejuice working together, which in this case, of course, is trying to save, Lydia's daughter and everything, But, again, though them two working together, it really brought me back to the good old like Beetlejuice the animated series. It was really great to see that little touch, I really, really do. I mean, of course, it all ended up, with Beetlejuice still wanting to marry Lydia so he can go back to the living, just like almost the Jeffrey kid, wanted, but that's a different story, But again, I really, really liked, that little element in this movie as well. Now, one of the things I also wanted to bring shout out to is that little cameo of the undead janitor of Danny DeVito. Oh my god! He's another performance. He was very brief. He appeared very briefly at the very beginning, but I still want to give a shout out to Danny DeVito's character as well. Seeing in another Tim Burton's project is just simply, fantastic. And again, even if it was just a small cameo role, he's still the best. He's still freaking, Danny DeVito and everything. Now, of course, with everything I've said, I'm just keeping going, praising this movie, because again, because I just really had fun with it, But the one thing I really have to praise this movie is the one thing I really have to praise for this movie is of course the soundtrack. Like Danny Elfman and his work just from the very beginning of the movie, when you hear the Beetlejuice theme, a little bit like, modified from the original, but when you hear that theme and the overall, like all the other music numbers, like, well, with the exception of Beetlejuice mimicking, but with the exception of that, like all the other soundtrack you hear throughout the movie, like Danny Elfman, that does not disappoint. I mean, Danny Elfman and Tim Burton, they have like worked together for like in many, 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 different, different projects, so it was really great to see him back, in it as well. So definitely like the soundtrack itself, is really one of the things I really want to praise about this movie. And this last thing I also want to praise is, like from the makeup and of course the practical effects. I mean, like I really like that Tim Burton, instead of going full CGI, he wanted to keep the practical effects, for this movie, and he freaking delivered. I mean, like, you can notice there are some moments where he does have, where you can see that he uses CGI, but I would say like 95% of the movie, or even like 97% of the movie, is just practical effects, and he freaking delivered. Like I said, like from some like transformations to the sandworms to like, the overall world and everything, the stop motion, which again, like I said, like for the biggest example of trying to explain how Granddad Deed basically died and everything. It just simply like mesmerized. Like Tim Burton really nailed it out of the park in this movie. It was really great to see him back. Because I mean, the man like is literally wanted to retire before they asked him for Wednesday. And Wednesday, I was really happy that Wednesday basically brought that energy back to him. To do another Beetlejuice movie. Because for me personally, he really delivered. Now, does that mean that the movie is perfect? Absolutely not. Like if I have to criticize about this movie something, then it has to be the story. Like, I mean, usually for me personally, I don't criticize too much when it comes to story wise, in different like TV shows and movies, because I always try to like, kind of like be gentle with and everything, because everything, I always thought that everything finds its place, in the end. But for Beetlejuice, which is very rarely for me, I still, I believe that if I have to catch a flaw, I think it would be definitely that it feels a little bit overstuffed with lots of things going on. Because again, as I told you from the very beginning, like when I was trying to tell you the overall story, like it goes from many different places. Like for example, you have Lydia Deeds, and her family, the grandfather's funeral. You have that part. You have the relationship between like Lydia Deeds and Jenna Ortega's character. You have Rory. You have Dolores, the ex Beetlejuice's wife, returning. You have that part. You have the storyline with Jenna Ortega's character and the kid Jeffrey, who fucking murdered his parents and tried to use her, to go back to the living, almost like Beetlejuice, but not like that hardcore. Like the stories in this one, like, or should I say, the plot elements are all over the place. So it kind of makes the movie feel overstuffed, So I mean, I watched I watched like only once at the theater, and then I watched it twice on digital. And after like rewatching it 3 times, basically overall, I kind of see why people think that this movie feels a little bit overstuffed. Like with and I don't think it's the characters' problem. I think it's like like I said, plot elements. I think that's the main problem. I think like what they could have done, at least what I would have done, is basically if Tim Burton and the crew, if they removed the whole Jeffrey kid scenario and just simply leave it to Dolores's storyline, kind of like developing a little bit more, I think like it would have made the story a little more understandable, simple, but at the same time exciting. So if I have to pick something, if I have to nitpick something, I would say I would definitely remove the whole Jeffrey kid storyline out of it. But overall, even though it feels like overstuffed, although everything basically comes to a conclusion at the very end of the movie. So overall, even though it kind of feels like that, I still felt satisfied and all. So that's the only negative thing about like what that I have about this movie. Because everything else for me was great. Like from Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice to like all the characters, new ones and old ones. Oh my God! Like also I have to mention Bob. Like I really loved Bob in this movie. A really nice addition to the Beetlejuice crew. I mean, I really felt sad. What happened to him at the at the end. But overall, it was a really cute addition to the overall movie itself. Yeah. So I mean, basically, I really don't have that much, to say, because like, overall, my final thoughts about this movie, also, yeah, before I go to that, sorry, I have to go a little bit backwards. One other thing that I really, really love about this movie, and I really have to mention that, is that because there's one question that a lot of people, have been asking before they've seen the movie, during the trailers and everything, even the casting news and everything. Because I mentioned that some of the characters are missing, and I'm not talking about simply Otto or the grandfather of the Deeds. No, I'm also talking about the Maitlands, the ghosts of the Maitlands. You know, they're also the characters that they're missing from this movie. And I kind of get the idea, why they were not, why they were not present, in the production of Beetlejuice, but still. Even if it was done like, or should I say, explained very quickly, I still liked, they kind of give us an explanation, why the Maitlands are not present, in this movie, which kind of also connects with Lydia Deetz, being kind of like, this medium and everything, because basically what Lydia Deetz said, spoiler alert, basically what Lydia Deetz said is, that the Maitlands are no longer in this house because, they successfully found a loophole in their like, undead, let's just say undead contract, let's just put it that way, so, and basically they moved on, as they will say, to the great beyond and everything. I mean, again, it was a short explanation, but still I appreciate it, to kind of like, give us an explanation why they're not present and everything, So yeah, some people might think like, it's kind of like a very quick, lame explanation, but for me personally, it was explained enough. Like okay, that explains why they're not here. So overall, I really liked, they brought that Tim Burton and the crew, they brought that up in this movie as well. Yeah. I mean, like I said, besides the story, I really don't have too much to kind of like describe. To kind of describe. You said his name 3 times at the beginning. Oh dear. Yeah, you're right, Trevor. I did actually say his name 3 times. Come to think of it, I think I said it like maybe I think I said maybe like 6 or 10 times actually, to be fair. So instead of like one Beetlejuice, I might actually like find like at least like maybe like 5 or 4 like clones of Beetlejuice, all together. Haunt me for the rest of my days, but who knows? Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, I did say his name 3 times. I mean, again, as the Beetlejuice said, say it once, say it twice, 3rd time's the charm. So there you go. Yeah, but overall, my overall thoughts about this movie is, like again, to go back to the final thoughts. Like I really had a blast with this movie. Now, is this movie, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, is this movie perfect? No, it's not. Is it horrible, as some people said? No, it's not. But one thing that it definitely is, it really pays homage to the first Beetlejuice movie. It also gave us so much like new elements, in this one, trying not to like, copy almost like the same freaking thing like, it was, in the first one, which is another thing I really appreciate about this movie. Super fun time. I really enjoyed like, the humor in it. Every single character, for me, they freaking like nailed their performances. Michael Keaton, again, he in this movie, he proves that he is the Beetlejuice, and then no one can replace him. Just like we all said, no one can replace Ian McKellen as Gandalf, or no one can replace Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman, or no one can replace Kevin Conroy as Batman. The same thing I have to say, with Michael Keaton as well. Like no one can replace him as Beetlejuice. For us, forever, ever, or at least for me, he will always be the Beetlejuice. The one role that he freaking mastered it. That you love so much that you cannot see anyone else, replacing him. Lydia, again, Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, Jenna Ortega, Willem Dafoe, Monica Bellucci, like, the guy who plays Rory, I can't remember his name right now, all the way to the cameo at Danny DeVito. Every single performance in this movie for me worked. It really fits that world, that twisted world that is like, that Beetlejuice, that is part of Beetlejuice. So overall, I really had a blast with this movie. Tim Burton did not disappoint. And the way how the movie ended, without going into details, with that very, very disturbing hospital scene, who knows? We might even get that third time's the charm thing. Who knows? Which I have to wait and see. Which kind of brings me to this kind of thing. Although I do hope, P.S., I do hope that we're not going to have to wait another 36 years if they decide to make a sequel. You know, which I get, but in the end, it brings me to this. I will give Beetlejuice Beetlejuice a solid 8 out of 10. You know, like, no more, no less. Because overall, I have really super fun time with this movie. Michael Keaton was legendary. Everyone else was great. I really like the story. Although I did kind of thought, it was kind of like a bit overstuffed, with some elements, But again, even though it was a little bit overstuffed, it really paid off at the end with that, very overly dramatic wedding scene and everything. So overall, with the music, with the practical effects, with the story-wise characters and everything, I will give it a solid 8 out of 10. Whew. Well, we're like 31 minutes in this live stream. Oh, well, I never actually planned to make it that long, but overall, that concludes my review of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Yeah. I mean, anyone who had you all guys, had your chance to watch it in the theater. Maybe perhaps they're still showing it somewhere, out there. But where I am now, that time has passed. For a lot of people, you should catch it on digital or any other streaming services that Beetlejuice should be released or showed. But overall, I again, I love this movie. I really had tons of laughs in it and everything. So yeah, I really hope they make a third one, especially the way how it ended, So because we had Beetlejuice. So this time we can have the third time's a charm without saying the name the third time. So overall, I'm done, everyone. So like always, you guys, the drill. Comment, subscribe. Unleash your comments in the comment section down below. Give me your own personal thoughts. What you thought about the Beetlejuice movie? Do you wish to see a third one? Do you think Michael Keaton will return playing him again one more time, or Tim Burton directing it? Who knows? But for now, stay tuned for my other upcoming review live streams, or should I say review lives. Laura Shadows, like always, signing off. See you guys next time. Or as Beetlejuice will say, later, fucker.